President Trump's opponents often act as his biggest enablers, and now comes news that President Biden's FBI went so far in its investigation of the Capitol riot as to obtain the telephone call records of 9 Republicans in Congress.
I think you've already got the FBI sheet that shows the number of members of Congress that were targeted. Representative Kelly, Senators Graham, Hagerty, Hawley, Sullivan, Tuberville, myself, Senator Lummis, and Blackburn.
The source of this revelation is Senator Chuck Grassley's inquiry into the FBI's Arctic Frost investigation of January 6. Former Special Counsel Jack Smith has some explaining to do.
There's no predicate that we can find for the solicitation of these telephone records.
Mr. Grassley said the FBI's records request was approved by a grand jury, and according to his office, the data obtained ran from January 4th to January 7th, 2021. This does not include the details of any phone conversations, but it does show who called whom, when, and for how long.
The fact that it's happened here again, the fact that they are looking at our records in 2023, sitting members of the United States Senate. Again, the only thing that we have in common, the only thing in common in this entire list is that we're all Republicans.
Ron Johnson called it blatant political persecution and pointed to the timeline of Mr. Smith's case against Mr. Trump for trying to overturn the 2020 election.
This memo was dated September of 2023. To put it all into context, the Mar-a-Lago raid occurred in August of 2022. Jack Smith announced the indictments against President Trump in August of 2023. So this is almost 2 months later. They're casting this net, this fishing expedition against members of the Senate and the House.
One shouldn't forget, too, that Senators Grassley and Johnson were prominent in investigating excesses by the Justice Department and FBI against Mr. Trump in the 2016 campaign and his first term.
The liberal media and members of the other political party chose to dismiss our work. They even falsely claimed that our work was Russian disinformation.
This fire was started when you completely ignored, for example, our investigation of Hunter Biden. No evidence of wrongdoing there, and now we find out after the election, no, there is a fair amount of evidence to the point that we have a real FBI investigation.
Senator, all right, I've had enough of hearing this.
Listen, I've had enough of this too.
These latest revelations, of course, are a separate issue.
This is part of the Arctic frost, the wide net that Jack Smith was casting. Indicted President Trump, and they start coming after members of Congress. Just, again, it's a fishing expedition.
Good evening.
Mr. Smith's 2023 indictment explained how Mr. Trump and his aides tried to hack the Electoral College on January 6 by submitting fraudulent electors and pressuring Congress's presiding officer, Vice President Mike Pence, to accept them or reject Joe Biden's electors.
The chair declares the joint session dissolved.
That this really happened is a permanent stain on Mr. Trump's legacy, even if Mr. Smith's attempt to call it obstruction of an official proceeding looked like a legal stretch. The indictment alleged that on the morning of January 6, an agent of the defendant, Mr. Trump, contacted a United States senator to ask him to hand-deliver documents to the vice president, specifically the certificates for the fraudulent electors in Michigan and Wisconsin, which were believed not to have been delivered to the vice president or archivist by mail. Mr. Pence's aides wisely rejected delivery. Then, that evening, according to the special counsel, Mr. Trump attempted to exploit the violence and chaos at the Capitol by calling lawmakers to convince them, based on knowingly false claims of election fraud, to delay the Electoral College certification. The defendant, through White House aides, attempted to reach 2 United States senators at 6 p.m. The indictment goes on to say an unnamed co-conspirator placed calls to 5 United States senators and 1 United States representative.
We know what they did in 2016 to the Trump transition team. And now we find out that after the Mar-a-Lago raid, after the indictment of President Trump, they surveil us, people who support President Trump.
It isn't far-fetched to think that the FBI may have been trawling for evidence to charge 1 or more GOP lawmakers with obstruction or another crime. Yet there's a historical precedent for alternative slates of electors, as the law recognized. Even if Mr. Trump's attempt to hijack the idea to stay in power was terrible.
They've now got a long list. You've got the list now of those of us, the Republican senators, who have been targeted by the FBI. This is going to get cleaned up. We're going to get to the bottom of it.